Hi, my name's Kathy Skipper and I'm a menopause midwife. Welcome to my channel, The Alchemy of Menopause. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the female or woman warrior archetype. And so the reason why I think this is important, especially at menopause, is because what I see, and I have seen through working with hundreds of women going through menopause, is that today in 2025, it's not just an individual need to turn up in our most authentic self, to turn up as a wise woman for our own lives, but it is a need collectively for the planet. So we need to reclaim this natural place of leadership, which is the place of the wiser older woman on the planet. And the reason, just to give us some history on it, the reason why we're not always turning up as a wiser, older, authentic woman with leadership qualities, able to lead, is because for generations and generations, the feminine, or at least part of the feminine psyche, has been hiding out in the underworld. We've buried it in our shadow. And the message that we grew up with, and our mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers, etc., grew up with, was a patriarchal view of what it is to be a woman and what it is to be safe and welcome as a woman in the dominant culture. And what we've learned is to turn up and feel safe and welcome as a woman, we have to bury a big part of the feminine psyche. So in 2025, we're being asked to go on this heroine's journey into the underworld and discover more of what it is to be feminine, so that we can come back up as a wiser older woman ready to lead, which is what the planet, in my opinion, needs. So we can see how this has happened. If you're interested in looking at how we buried and denigrated and neglected a big part of the feminine psyche, you can look at what happened in Europe with the witchcraft trials over several hundreds of years. Same in later on in the US in the Salem witch trials. You can look at the history of women and medicine and see how women's bodies have been treated throughout the history of medicine. There's a lot out there that will show you why it is that we've buried so much of the feminine psyche in order to be able to survive in a patriarchally dominant culture. And this resonates on an individual level. You can look at your own story and your mother's story and your grandmother's story, but also on a collective level. And what I see happening now is that women, especially through menopause and through the transition that menopause offers us, are being really called by their own psyches or their own souls into the shadow parts of themselves. There's something rising that's very feminine within them saying, look, you can't ignore this any longer. You've got to look deeper into yourself and reclaim these parts of yourself. There's a natural pull. Carl Jung called it the journey of individuation. There's this natural pull towards wholeness. And I suppose because we are safer now, we can have more information. There's Google, there are libraries, there's all the information we want is available to us. Women since the 50s have been writing about feminine consciousness. We could go and read those books. There's this idea that I think we are more able now to follow that calling of individuation, that calling towards wholeness. And so this is where the feminine warrior archetype can be very helpful. And I want to start with a quote that I found by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. She says, within every woman there is a wild and natural creature, a powerful force filled with good instincts, passionate creativity, and ageless knowing. Her name is Wild Woman. So in a way, am I suggesting that the wild woman and the warrior woman are connected? And I think so, yes. Because the wild woman, again, refers to this buried, deeper part of the feminine archetype. We've been domesticated. I always say we're a bit like horses. Women have been bridled and held to be a certain way and react a certain way and be ridden in a certain way, like horses. And their wildness, their power, think of the power of an unbridled horse. Could kill if it wanted to, rarely does. But that power, that instinctual power A horse will know when a coyote is 3 miles away just through feeling it, through its body, that somatic knowing, that feminine knowing. So in a way, yes, the wild woman and the warrior woman are kind of connected. And as I say always, our wild woman has been repressed. The traits that are natural to her, this powerful instinctual nature like the horses, this inner knowing, this freedom that the wild woman has, this natural freedom and authentic creativity, are things that haven't been naturally encouraged of the feminine and of women and of the feminine in men. We have been very much educated in a world that is very linear and follows certain rules and logic and left brain thinking, etc. So yes, we're going back not only to find this warrior woman, but to find the wildness that enables us to embody the warrior woman and to unpeel not just society's view of this part of ourself, which over generations society has seen this wildness of the feminine as something dark, something to be, something dubious, something undomesticated, and therefore unwelcome in our society. But we too have done that to her. Women have judged their own inner feminine. And that's key, is that as we face these parts of ourselves, we have to undo our own judgments about our own feminine, deep feminine, wild woman. So, I've done a video about this. It's hot flashes and kundalini. You can search it in the videos. But this energy of the hot flashes that comes through often when women are going through menopause can be attributed to this wild Shakti energy. In India, the kundalini energy is considered feminine. And this energy that naturally comes through a woman with her hot flashes is as if something is being reignited in a much more fierce and wild way than when we're in our nurturing years, when we're bringing up children. Here, this ignition is much more Kali-like. There's an energy of righteous anger, fierceness about it that the warrior woman needs. So the feminine warrior, in my view, is an archetype that we can start to work with as we go through menopause and start to reclaim, and to realize that this archetype, I believe, is needed more than ever in the collective, in the world today. In a way, the planet is crying out for women's wild, primal leadership qualities that know things from this instinctual, deep knowing in the body rather than just intellectually. And so the invitation as you go through menopause is to give yourself some time, instead of just lamenting the changes, lamenting the grief and the loss of youth, which is a necessary part of it. There's also this possibility to connect with the female warrior within. And believe me, if you do, and you give yourself time to look up these female warriors, to work with the archetype, to do some art around the archetype, to journal about this part of yourself and where is she, what does she need to come through, you will find that you're actually triggering some power within you. Instead of always being the victim, always looking what's wrong, what we're losing, how we won't fit in. I think there's a sharp sort of shift that we can make ourselves by what we focus on. What we focus on becomes our reality. So we decide what we focus on. And what I love about the female warrior is that she does use these female qualities of intuition, of somatic knowing, of psychic capacities, to forge her way in the world. And you can read about this. Dr. Christine Northrup, I think she's got a bit potty now, but when she was her original book, she talked about the reset of the mind at menopause, and we do become more psychic. Our intuition becomes more finely tuned. So it's sort of a natural process. We need to bring her out of the underworld, and so that she can, this warrior woman, she's not just going to strive for her personal goals, which are very worthy, whatever they may be. But there's also this idea of striving for a more collective need, striving to change something in this world that is so evidently not taking care of the next 7 generations. That is where the sort of warrior female energy combines with the grandmother archetype. Not the grandmother who's sitting there knitting and not doing anything, but the grandmother who sees that what's most important to her is that the planet is there to feed and nurture her grandchildren and the next grandchildren and the next grandchildren. So in a way, this wild, ferocious, righteous anger that I mentioned with Kali is what can turn up in the world and speak her truth. And this truth comes from not an intellectual knowing, not from books, but from a deep, deep need to make sure that the planet is safe for the next generations to come. This female warrior energy goes beyond fear. She doesn't let fear hold her back. She might feel frightened, but she doesn't let it hold her back, especially when something deeper comes through that she needs to express, some deep feminine truth. She's, yeah, in a way, we could say that the warrior wild woman, this warrior archetype, is here to express feminine truth. She's here to, what's the word? She's here to sacrifice herself to these deeper truths, which enable her to grow beyond her fears, because these truths are more powerful than her fears, and her fears come from the past. Her fears come from the messages she grew up with, that her warrior self wasn't welcome. So we can call on Kali and this righteous anger. You know, think of Kali, those black images of her with her red tongue sticking out and her necklace of skulls. And those skulls aren't necessarily people that she's killed. Those skulls are really the sort of doubts and fears that she's killed, or the egotic, selfish ideas that she's killed. And she knows how to defend what is right. And that's really a key to the warrior woman. And she does that with love. She is a mother. Kali is a mother archetype. The warrior woman is part of the mother archetype. You know, she is the mother, and a mother can be fierce. And she teaches us to connect with that fierce love within us. You know, and we've been taught that when we're fierce, when we're strong, we are out of bounds. We are not behaving correctly. Who do we think we are? And that is very hurtful, because when a woman is really fierce from the deep feminine, she comes with love. And she's taught to believe that that isn't love, that she's doing something wrong. And this is really what we have to work out in ourselves. The other, I've talked about in my videos, the virgin. And so, and how when we go through menopause and we start to work towards becoming a sovereign woman and then eventually a crone, the virgin is a very important part of this. The mother is, but so is the virgin, because the virgin, it isn't about whether the hymen has been broken through sex, but the hymen is a symbol of being whole unto herself. So the virgin is a woman who is above all herself. She doesn't change herself because she's frightened of what society will say. She doesn't change herself so that she can be accepted by society or by a man. She is whole. She is fiercely authentic, fiercely herself. And she trusts herself. She trusts herself beyond the education she had from this patriarchal culture. She trusts herself beyond the messages that the mainstream are giving her today about what an older woman is. She trusts herself because she listens to the deep feminine within her. Because of that, she's capable of standing up for truth and for clarity. And she knows her own boundaries. And I think this is huge as well. I've done some videos on codependency, on boundaries. It's something that I've really had to work hard on, and I'm still working on my own boundaries. It's a big deal, boundaries for women. But someone who's whole unto herself knows what's right for her and how to retain that wholeness and authenticity through her boundaries. She's comfortable, the warrior woman, with her own anger. She doesn't judge her own anger, even though it might have been judged by others as she was growing up, as she was learning to express herself. Don't be angry. Good girls aren't angry. Who do you think you are expressing that anger? Don't be angry like that in this space. But no, she's got to a place where she trusts her own anger. She's comfortable with it. And she's responsible for it. Someone who's responsible for their anger knows what they're angry about and can be angry um, without being aggressive. She has her ego in check. So lastly, as well, I think I'm going to give you a few journaling prompts, but just to finish, I want to highlight that I think that the warrior woman is in connection with her own willingness to serve, to go beyond the individual to the collective. In one sense, when she's like the bear protecting her cubs, she's that fierce. But because her cubs have grown up, she's still got that energy of protecting, but it's protecting something greater. It's protecting the cubs of the collective. It's protecting the future of the children of the world. And I think this is really important today. And she doesn't seek permission. She's not going to say, who's going to allow me? Waiting for someone to say, it's okay, you can do it. No, she will stand up, listening to that. Listening to, in French, they say la tripe, which is that sort of your guts. Listening to her guts, knowing what she stands for. And so when she feels that gut feeling, she stands for it powerfully. So if you're interested in looking at a warrior woman, the one that I thought might be the easiest to start to work with is Artemis. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt. She's the goddess of the moon. She was the twin sister of Apollo, or the first twin sister of Apollo, who's the sun god. And she is at home in the wilderness. The wilderness is her domain, and at night under the moon. And the way that she navigates the wilderness is like the wind. She knows every corner of the wild, within and without. And she protects. She's very, very protective. She has that mother energy, even though she's a virgin. So really, her virgin is that she's whole unto herself. There we have the virgin archetype. And she's also the mother in the sense that she is extremely protective of pregnant women, young babies, animals. And she will be as fierce as Kali if she needs to protect those that cannot protect themselves. So, the other thing, sorry, before I give you the journaling prompts, is that there's a beautiful plant called mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris, and it's named after her. I remember my herbal teacher in France telling me it's the plant of women par excellence, by excellence. It's the ultimate feminine plant, and it's named after her. So she is this deep warrior feminine energy, at one with the wildness, whole unto herself, motherly and protective to a point of, she would frighten anyone away who tried to hurt those who couldn't look after themselves. So here are some journaling prompts. So just to get you going, to start thinking, where is this energy in me? How can I connect with this energy in myself? So I've just got 3 very simple prompts. The first one is, what are the core feminine values that you defend from deep within yourself? That when you really, really, when the shit hits the fan, what are those core feminine values that you really, really are attached to and you feel are extremely important? 2, what are the values and ideas that whatever happens, you will always stand your ground on? You will never let someone change your mind. You will never be, made weak in front of these values. What are they? And lastly, what boundaries do you need to strengthen your warrior attitude and to stand up for what you believe in? What is it that might be stopping you? What boundaries do you need to put into place so that you can stand up as your authentic self and express what you need to express in the world? Okay, well, lots of love, and if you like this channel, please subscribe.